How can we define what being a good street rider is? Being a good rider not only allows us to be safer on the road, but it also carries a sense of pride. When one can handle their motorcycle with skill and place that motorcycle exactly where they want it on the road at the exact time they want it to be there, they'll naturally feel a sense of pride in that accomplishment. Now, many riders think they have better control of their motorcycle than they actually do. If you take traffic out of the equation, it doesn't take a whole lot of skill just to keep the motorcycle between the white lines on the public road. And just about everybody can start and stop a motorcycle and can negotiate a corner with some level of precision while keeping the motorcycle and themselves out of the ditch. But when riders are asked to perform a more technical task in a training environment, they often struggle. So if you go out on the street and you ask that question of what makes a good rider, a good street rider, you'll get a lot of different answers. Some might say a good rider is Marc Marquez, one of the top MotoGP riders on the circuit. Others would point to a friend who's been riding for 30 years without a single accident. Others might say it's one who practices their skills a lot or can get a knee down on a motorcycle or goes to track days or any other way that we might measure the skill of a rider. The difference in all those answers is what we use as the measuring stick to evaluate all of these riding disciplines. This week on MCrider, I wanted to discuss what I consider to be a good street rider. It's the focus of what I do here on MCrider to help you become a better rider on the street. And determining who's a good rider is not as easy as being able to measure their ability to perform a tight U-turn or to perform a quick stop within so many feet at 30 miles per hour. It can't be measured with cone placement or with a tape measure. And if you've been paying attention to MCrider, you might already have a pretty good idea of what I think constitutes a good street rider, because it's repeated in every video and it's the foundation of every video released here on this channel. Hey, my name's Kevin and I release a weekly video here on MCrider focused on road skills and road strategy to help make you a better rider. So, how many times have you heard me say what I just said here on MCrider? If you've been watching since the early days of MCrider, you've heard me say that hundreds of times. But in this statement, focused on road skills and road strategy to help make you a better rider. I repeat the mission, the foundation, and the crux of MCrider every time I introduce myself each week on this channel. It can be summed up in 4 words: road skills, road strategy. It's not skill alone that makes a good rider, and it's not strategy alone. It's the balance between the two that separates a good rider from an average rider out on the street. So let's define road skill and road strategy as I think it relates to street riding. I would define road skill as the ability to control your motorcycle with precision in order to navigate the streets and perform life-saving maneuvers, and the ability to transfer some of these skills from the conscious mind to the unconscious portions of your thought. So if you have to use constant brain cycles to shift the motorcycle up and down through the gears, you're not proficient yet in shifting gears. You should be able to perform this without much focus from your conscious thought. Same goes with emergency braking and a lot of the other skills that I teach here. Those should be able to be performed automatically. Road strategy, I would define that as the ability to ride on the street predicting possible hazards in a manner that creates time and space for you on the roadway. A rider using good road strategy will rarely need to use their road skills to avoid a crash. So a rider using good road strategy is aware of their position and their speed on the road in relation to the traffic and the potential threats around them, and they use that information to increase their time and space on the road and for the ability to others to have a better chance of seeing them on the road. Road skills and road strategy are not exclusive to each other for a good street rider. A good rider has to develop and practice both of these disciplines to be a safe rider. So let's look briefly at road skill and road strategy and talk about how you can develop each one. A rider who wants to develop their road skills will work on these basic fundamentals of riding. Emergency braking. And this is perhaps one of the most important skills you can have on a motorcycle, and one that few riders actually practice very often. A lack of proper braking skills will lead to crashes, to locking up tires, causing low side or high side crashes, or that need to layer down, as I've even seen in one video of a very popular motorcycle YouTuber who gives some riding advice on occasion, say that he would jump off his motorcycle if a car pulled out in front of him. Now, I'm not about mentioning names here, but it brings up an important point that you need to be careful who you listen to. I try my best to provide accurate information to you. But even on this channel, if something doesn't sound right to you, investigate it for yourself. Do some research, and especially investigate it if someone ever tells you to jump off your motorcycle when a car pulls out in front of you. Now, hand in hand with emergency braking is swerving. And sometimes you can't stop, and swerving is a nice tool to have at your disposal. A good rider working on road skills will develop their cornering ability. And the lack of cornering skills is a huge cause for crashes on the road. And one of the best places to practice that is a teaching-focused track day. Now, some track days are out there so that you can go fast, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there are also some track days that are out there so you can work on your cornering skills. You don't have to be on a race bike or a sport bike to go to these type of trainings. You can be on any motorcycle that you ride, and do some research and find an instructor-led track day that you can attend. It really will help your cornering out. I'll add to these speed-oriented skills, slow speed control. Now, slow speed control, like a slow race or offset weaves or U-turns, are important to practice because they have that cool factor. I mean, they look cool when you're able to do it, but it also forces you to use proper brake and throttle control, head and eye placement, and body position on a motorcycle. Notice I didn't mention getting a knee down, any stoppies, wheelies, or other cool to do tricks on a motorcycle. I call them tricks because as they relate to street riding, I do consider them tricks. Now, they do have their purpose in other riding disciplines, right? Getting a knee down or extreme cornering is important on the track. Wheelies are important to negotiate obstacles in an off-road situation, but their value for street riding is greatly diminished. And if the other discipline of road strategy is applied, they become even less important for street riding. If you're having to get your knee down to get around a corner, you need to look at your road strategy and see what's going on there. So let's talk about that a little bit. Let's talk about road strategy. I think that a lot of riders misunderstand what good road strategy is. Many riders think that going slow is good road strategy, or going around corners extremely slow is good road strategy, or perhaps always staying in the far right lane is a good road strategy. Sometimes applying good road strategy on the street will appear to the average rider as an aggressive move. For instance, let's say you're out on the highway and a really slow car is in the lane ahead of you. In order to maintain your following distance, and we talk about that a lot, you'd have to ride really slow in order to maintain a following distance behind that really slow car. But someone using good road strategy will look for ways to get around that car in a safe manner, but in a purposeful manner. You don't want to hang out around a car that's going really slow either, so you can either back off or you can get around them, but you want to do so with a purpose. Say leaving intersections at a red light. I leave an intersection with purpose, and I get up to speed limit, usually much faster than the cars around me. And this road strategy may appear somewhat aggressive on the road, but it creates space for me and the traffic behind me. A rider using good road strategy is always looking for ways to create time and space for themselves on the road, and they're always asking that question, what if, and providing I will answers in real time. Road strategy is as much an art form as it is a set of rules that can be applied to every situation. A lot of people like hard rules to common situations. Like, the common question I get is, what lane should I be in when I'm going down the highway? The correct answer is, I don't know. How much traffic is there? How fast is the traffic traveling? What lane allows you to see the furthest up the road? Are there any large trucks on the road? All of these things play a role in the correct answer to the question of what lane you should be in. So my general rule for that question is, how well can I see up the road? And am I in a place giving others the best chance to see me? See, one of my core principles is I'm always going to be able to see well up the road, or I'm actively doing something to make that happen. Whether that's passing a car, backing off from a car, changing lanes, etc. My vision to see and predict road situations is primary, and second to that is giving the others the best chance to see me. So as you can see, there's no real easy answer to what the best lane position to ride in is. I often see riders in the comments talking about their daily ride to work. Cars are cutting them off on a daily basis, pulling in front of them and slamming on their brakes in front of them. And if I was a doctor and you came to me with these symptoms, I'd say you're probably suffering from poor road strategy, because these should not be happening on a regular basis. Hear this: daily evasive maneuvers are not the norm for a good street rider. If your life is threatened daily or weekly or even regularly on a motorcycle, you need to look at what you can do to fix the problem. It's not anybody else's fault but yours. And adjusting your road strategy is often the answer. In these situations, it's not about improving your skills to avoid the crash. It's about adjusting your strategy so that you don't have to employ your skills on a regular basis. So we've talked a lot about skill and strategy in this video, but a good street rider will not develop one of these disciplines to the detriment of the other. So what I mean by that is a rider who has all the skill in the world on a motorcycle, who flies around corners well above the posted speed limit, will eventually run into problems on the street. Even if they have the skill as an individual to take that corner at high speed, 100 out of 100 times under perfect conditions, at some point there'll be gravel on the road, at some point there'll be a yellow car coming the opposite direction, at some point something crazy will happen and their skill cannot save them from a crash. On the other hand, an overly cautious rider trying to use good road strategy maintains that following distance on the road, even if that means following another car rather than going around them. Even if that car is going 25 miles per hour slower than the flow of traffic. And this causes problems for the rider as well, trying to be safe, but causing more problems for themselves because of the speed differential between them and the traffic flow. So a good street rider, in my opinion, is the rider who develops their skills. They need to stay safe on the road and then rides in a manner that they rarely need to deploy those skills. It's that balance of skill and strategy, and it's also the foundation of what I try to teach here on MCrider. So I'd love to hear from you. Leave a comment below and tell me what you think about this approach. Become a member at mcrider.com/support. You'll get access to the field guide in the forums, where we'll be discussing this and a host of other topics to help you become a better rider. And until next week, guys, it's Kevin with MCrider, and I'll see you on the road.